Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Oh, today we have a good one. Something I originally had planned to cover in Iron Warriors Week. But today we are finally talking Perturabo versus Angron. Before I begin, a huge thank you to Big Al for the virtual gift voucher. Thank you very much, my friend. It is really appreciated. Thank you. But on to today. Spoiler warning to begin. The events we are discussing today are from the Horus Heresy novel Slaves to Darkness by John French. As always, I really recommend you read the novel for yourself first, as that's the best way to enjoy the lore for yourself. Not only that, but we help to support the great Games Workshop and Black Library, because without them we don't have this great lore to talk about. I will put a link in the description as always. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, when we last spoke of Perturabo, he had been tasked by the traitor War Master Horus to bring Angron and his legion to Ulanor. And Perturabo's journey was eventful to say the least, turning down the approaches of the Chaos God Nurgle. But ultimately, the World Eaters are tracked down, and the Iron Warriors find their lost cousins. The skies lashed with storm-reefed lightning, and the ground is filled with death pits. Burning tributes filled to the brim with skulls of the dead. For 3 hours, Perturabo and his legion have waited for their legionary cousins to arrive, but nothing has come. In fact, they've seen no sign of life since landing upon the surface. The only proof of the World Eaters' presence being their disorganized fleet above in orbit, and the ominous lone reply the Iron Warriors' hails received. This is no place for you. Leave us. Go. The Iron Warriors, of course, did not listen, and upon planetfall immediately established a beachhead, fortifying their position with typical brutal efficiency. Perturabo knows that words will not work here. Words will fail here, he said. You can taste that truth in the rain. Battle is the only dialogue my brother will hear. Then, amidst the smoke and the deluge of rain, a figure approaches. At first he saw nothing, and then his eyes found it. A shadow amidst the grey streaks and smoke. It walked closer, its movements slow but somehow awkward, as though it were forcing itself to move that slowly. Guns rose as the figure drew closer. It kept walking. Argonis could see it more clearly now. A lone warrior in plate and helm, caked in blood and ash. More guns rattled to alert and turned to cover the warrior. No one spoke. The figure began to climb the hill of rubble, and then stopped just beneath the lowest palisade. He looked along the plasteel barrier, at the levelled guns of the warriors behind it, and then raised his gaze to Perturabo. Leave, he said. You should not be here. Go now. Argonis recognised him then. They had met before, fought once, even shared battle zones and command briefings. Though he remembered the warrior's bearings as much as the voice, still, he could not keep the question out of his own voice as he spoke. Khan? Now that is a good entrance. You can just imagine it, the rain-covered horizon, lightning flashing in the storm-reefed sky, and Khan slowly approaching the entire Iron Legion force. No fear, no hesitation, just the underlying threat of violence. Amidst the rain, the standoff continues, Khan twitching and muscles flexing as he struggles to control the rage within, ordering them to leave again. The orders of the War Master mean nothing. They've massacred this world to save Angron, his demon form needing this slaughter. And if the Iron Warriors don't leave, the World Eaters will come for them too. Perturabo turned his head slightly and nodded. The iron circle closed around him, shields locking, every weapon across the hillside armed with a buzz of charge and a clatter of cycling breaches. "Let them come," he said. Behind Khan, the first of the World Eaters broke through the curtain of rain with a roar of fury. The World Eaters come, guns blazing. But in their anger, it's undisciplined and ineffective. The Iron Warriors remain silent, defensive shields locked. Before finally, as the World Eaters close, they unleash their fire. Rounds ripping into their foe. But rather than fell their Legion cousins, they aim for the demons amidst their ranks. Brass and anger falling in the rain, as Perturabo enacts his plan. The Iron Warriors shift and mines explode, causing a vast pit to appear before them. And in their mindless rage, the World Eaters plunge within, heedless of the danger, overwhelmed in their anger. Without pause, the Iron Warriors shift again. In seconds, shield walls and tanks redeploy, from a barricade to corridors of steel, inviting the World Eaters in, bracing against their onslaught as they struggle to hold against their kin, without true retaliation. But as the melee ensues, Perturabo gets what he was waiting for. The Red Angel arrives, crashing in from the sky. Angron has come. Now, if our dive into Perturabo's character didn't endear you to the Primarch, you need to read this. As a demon-elevated Angron crashes down from the sky before them, the embodiment of terror, rage and fury, Perturabo doesn't even blink, calmly ordering the next configuration and preparing himself for battle. How many of his brothers may hesitate when confronted by the beast Angron has become? But Perturabo isn't one of them. And as he stands amidst his circle of iron, Forgebreaker in hand, he gives the order to fire. Rounds rip into Angron's flesh, tearing huge chunks of muscle from him, flesh re-knitting against the torrent of fire as he crashes his way to face his brother. A vast black axe forming in his hand, and there's a great line of reality tearing as it cut. As Angron comes at his brother, white light blazes as the axe strikes Perturabo's shoulder. His sight cleared. Perturabo still stood. Impossibly, the Lord of Iron stood. Glowing scars marked the plates of his armour. Blood hissed as it ran over orange iron. But he stood, and Forgebreaker was rising in his grasp, its head a comet as it swung. Angron did not move to avoid the blow. He was swinging again, roaring, blood-slicked cables lashing around his head. Like all the other blows he had struck in the last second, it was faster than the eye that saw it. But Perturabo had timed his blow and slid it into the split-second gap as Angron swung back to strike again. The hammer struck, forged by Fulgrim for the brother he had murdered, then given by Horus to Perturabo. It was a weapon that transcended even the craft put into its making. The hammerhead hit Angron's chest. Brass armour shattered. The shockwave ripped outwards. Argonis felt it pass through him. Angron staggered. Perturabo stepped forwards, the hammer swinging back in a blurred sheet of lightning. Angron rammed forwards before Perturabo could strike. And now it was Perturabo going back, armour blackening as a furnace flame breathed from Angron's teeth. The axe struck again, and again, blows that could end titans falling. Fresh wounds opened in Perturabo's armour. But still he stood. "You think I am weak?" Perturabo's voice boomed from the grille of his helm. Angron struck him twice again. Splinters of metal fell from the Lord of Iron as he staggered once more. But you have grown weaker, Angron. The demon Primarch lashed a kick into Perturabo and struck once, twice, 3 times as the Lord of Iron stumbled back and crashed to his knees. I have learnt. I have remade my strength, while you have sold yours out of despair. Oh man, that is what I'm talking about. Perturabo just tanked a blow from Angron like a boss, and came back swinging. And those words, you can feel the scorn in him for what his brother's become. You think I am weak, but you have grown weaker. I have learnt. I have remade my strength, while you have sold yours out of despair. Awesome writing by John French, it really is. You really feel the character of Perturabo, his despair at what's become of Angron. Angron roared, and in the fraction of time that gave, Perturabo was on his feet. Forgebreaker moving faster than before. The air shook as its head struck, and struck again, and there was blood on the baked mud of the ground beneath the two. Angron was scattering burning blood and broken armour. He lashed a fist at Perturabo. Claws tore the front of the Lord of Iron's helm. Perturabo's skin was pale grey, streaked with blood beneath. You are weak, snarled Perturabo. You are a slave. You were born a slave, and a slave you remain. Angron cut Perturabo. Argonis did not see it done, just the Lord of Iron suddenly still, a crimson trail running down his chest and glowing gashes smiling across his torso. Angron was striking again, but somehow he seemed to be shrinking, the edges of his shadow and flame bulk retreating like a wave from the shore. Perturabo struck back, and hammer and axe met. Your strength flees, roared Perturabo. It does not belong to you. It is your master's, and the chain that keeps you throttles you. The threads of blood are thinning. The meal of slaughter will only keep you here long enough to see your bastard sons die. And as Angron is trapped amidst the circle of iron, Perturabo presses his attack. Angron turned towards the circle of Ultima surrounding them. His axe lashed out, burning gouges across the front of the circle of shields, again and again scoring deep. Their skin is my skin, called Perturabo, a gift of suffering at the hands of our brother. He was walking towards Angron, limping but hammer in hand. You think that I would let your kind wield your weapons against me? I have taken their measure. Angron whirled, wings extending to carry him back to his brother. Perturabo raised his hands, weapon pods unfolding from his armoured shell. Angron's tattered shadow wings beat. Perturabo fired. Streams of energy and exotic rounds blazed across the space between the two. Fire and explosions wreathed Angron. Smoke billowed off him. Perturabo came forwards as he kept up the fusillade. Each step a slow thud of braced pistons. They will die, here on this hill. They will die without striking a blow. All your best mongrel sons of slaughter. They will die. And your battered soul will watch as it sinks back into the dark. Angron was an outline now, a thing of threads remaking itself even as it was unravelled into smoke. And with the added fire of Volk, the first obliterator, Angron is pushed into submission, hissing at Perturabo, naming him a betrayer. The only response from Perturabo? A final blow from Forgebreaker, sending Angron crashing to the ground. The fight is over. The Lord of Iron stands triumphant. His armour is cracked and splintered, and blood dripping from the gouges, but the hammer of Olympia has won. Man, what a fight this is. Perturabo has faced down Angron, and not just Angron, a demon elevated Angron. And okay, perhaps it's not necessarily a straight one-on-one, more Legion versus Legion, but let's make no bones about it. The Iron Warriors prove their mettle here. Pun intended. I don't know anyone that has Perturabo ranked in their top tier of Primarch warriors, but using his famed logic and calculations, he's beaten many people's number one. The rage and anger that Angron has always suffered from, that now fuels and empowers him, was completely and utterly used against him. Man, I hope we get to see a peak sanguineous go at Angron at the Siege of Terror, and give him a real beatdown. It also really makes me want to have an Angron week. Dive into the Primarch that he was, the fall that took him to this point, how he journeyed from slave to slave. But again, what fantastic piece of writing from John French this was. An amazing encounter. Perturabo really comes across brilliantly throughout the entire novel. If you haven't read it, you really need to check this one out. Along with Hammer of Olympia, this really does wonders for the character of Perturabo. Long gone is the pantomime villain, replaced with one of the most complex Primarchs of all. But as always guys, what did you think of it? Surprised Perturabo came out on top? And how do you think this affects both the Primarchs going forward? Is Perturabo the best weapon the War Master possesses instead of Angron? And does this brutal defeat devalue Angron in any way? As always, drop your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. A huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.